Welcome back, everyone, to Planescape Torment. You're here with Randall Lefevre, otherwise known as DraxxKraven, when we just let ourselves get killed for a lark. Geisis the Crooked? Is not the promoting one. Back your lids and crack your bone boxes, 'tis all steaming babami. The squat, hunched old man still has the broad shoulders and scarred, calloused hands of a worker or warrior. An aura of weary despair seems to hang about him. He appears to be giving a lecture at the moment. Remain. Right, now listen up. This is the seminar on the war. If you're here to listen about the blood war, take root. If you're not, you're in the wrong hole, and you'd best dump your soft, comfort-loving, Sigilian limbus stims out of here. The blood war? More boring than listening to a governor recite laws. Let's fight some young sensates who need to be indoctrinated in the ways of passion. He waggles eyebrows in anticipation. No, Mort, I want to hear this. And further, if you're Teneri or Betazoo, ump your scaly eyes out the door. I was not letting you ornery bastards bend an ear to this and listen to your balmy arguments. Because this is no discussion on who's right. Behind you, you hear the sounds of someone laugh large leaving the lecture hall. It just tells the blood war from the human point of view. I was not promoting one side or another because they're both stinking different ways. So what's left of you wanting to listen to some blood war stories, tales about the war, the horror of it all, no doubt, the floating fortresses wove and weaved a human skin, the plains-wide battlegrounds the blood war be fought on, tales of fiends locking fangs with other fiends. Grah! Well, let me peel back your lids and crack your bone boxes. 'Tis all steaming heap of balmy nonsense to be dwelling on that forged dung. I'll tell you this, though. You can't imagine the scale of the blood wars fought on. Nothing you've seen there or participated in, nothing compares. Time, numbers, legions, sheer bloodshed, nothing compares, Burks. To try and imagine it, forget it. My advice, simple. Stay away from the big bloody mess altogether. The only thing you needs to know is this. Fiends are killing fiends. Betazoo are slaughtering Teneri. Teneri are butchering Betazoo right now. Neither's winning. Don't think either can win. Biggest stalemate this side of eternity, thank the powers. That's it. That's all. I'll be answering any questions you got for me now. What's your question, Cutter? What started the blood war? You got a right to be curious what started this big old salty soupy mess in the first place. What set the fiends to locking horns in the first place, biting and clawing at each other until there was only one reason they were alive? Simple. They met. Tenari and Betazoo crossed each other one day, and like two drunken bigots, they set to fighting. That's simple. Well, nah, pike that. Imagine two drunken priests who believe each other knows only the way to live. Now make those priests rip with scales and fangs and horns and a cruel streak 7 leagues wide and put them in an itty-bitty sodden cell, and you have a good idea of the love that can spring forth, and there you have it. The origin of the blood war. But why are two evil races fighting? One believes evil should be nice and orderly, and one believes evil should be chaos running rampant across the plains. Both evil, but doesn't mean they can agree on anything. Bad blood. Each wants to exterminate the other, so their only brand of evil remains. They hate each other. Like, you see, they don't hate each other like we hate. We don't even know what hate is. We have one word for hate. They have thousands upon thousands. Their meanings twisted and piled like bodies. That's why they fight. What's your question, Cutter? How does someone get involved in the blood war? You know, every once and when some leather-headed Burke comes around asking about a job in the blood war. They want some jink, they want a quick stint, and to get along with their lives. Mayhap I was one of these leatherheads. Mayhap I was a sellsword and heard there was a little jink to be made in the war, got me interested. Taught me a lesson, it did. We're like ants running around the heels of dancing sod-pike gods. I saw big men who claimed to be big soldiers. Paper soldiers. War's a furnace for 'em. Makes them wake up or burn. So how'd you survive? That's the one thing I won't speak of, Cutter. Suffice to say, a man does what he has to escape the blood war. Can I ask him? No, he just won't say anything. How does one survive the blood war? You want to know how to survive the blood war? 3 things, Cutter. He holds up a maimed hand with only 2 fingers. First off, you stay the pike out of it. Secondly, keep yourself the pikin' shit out of it. And lastly, you stay the bloody pikin' sod pike out of it. If any part of the war rolls your way, let your imagination give your bum a kick and run as fast as you can. If you can't run, then lies really still and pray it passes you by. Except there's no place it don't touch, and there's almost nowheres you can run to get away from it. If there's nowhere to run, why don't these fiends fight in Sigil? Oh, now, Cutter, look, they have fought here a few times. Sometimes we get little spillover from the blood war. Our Lady of Pain, bless her steel-ridden heart, puts out those fires right quick. Some of the time, there's been some horrifying drizzle on yourself. You're so sodden scared times. When they've smashed and burnt and clawed their way through whole sodden city blocks in Sigil afore she decides to clean house. So she ain't always as keen on stopping the blood war as it might seem, you see. Why don't the fiends just take Sigil? He laughs, but it turns into a sputtering cough. Don't get me wrong now. Both the Teneri and the Beta Zoo want Sigil fierce. 'Tis the most precious staging ground in the Piken multiverse. The cage is in the city of doors and connects everywhere. You can't ignore it. And if you're serving in the blood war and want to win, you gotta have it. 'Tis just the fiends aren't gonna get it while the lady's in charge, 'tis all. She's tough as nails and her blades cut you deeper than any fiend's fang. And that nuts that the fiend stems like you wouldn't believe. One quiet lady, her hands tucked in her sleeves, holding back the blood war all by herself. I don't find it hard to believe that a woman can stop the blood war. But the fiends are still allowed in Sigil. Oh, damn'll be certain. They can't brawl in the streets too much, so as neutral ground, Sigil allows them to rattle their bone boxes without trying to murder each other. Sometimes they'll chat it up with each other here. The peace don't stay that way for long, though. Also, just 'cause they can't butcher each other in the streets don't mean spies, recruitment, and backstabbing don't still go on here. They fight battles with lies and words, Burke. Sometimes it's all in the bluster and blather, and there's safe houses about too. Places where they can cool their talons before the next skirmish. And they like to recruit here too, looking for fresh boys off the plains with a little greed in their hearts that they can make part of their glorious army. Mayhaps they recruited you once. Eh, Cutter? You look like you've tasted the war. I doubt it. They're not trying to recruit me to make me go back. They're trying to recruit me so they have an immortal warrior on their side. The war leaves scars on you, Cutter. You'd know, and you'd know you'd never want to go back. Your temples begin to throb painfully as you consider the man's words. A memory begins to surface. Recall. The lecture hall begins to fade from view as terrible visions begin to seep up from the base of your mind. Visions of a place where seasons are like nothing you've ever felt or heard or tried to shut out. A place where prayers go unheard, falling like stones to the earth. Vein-colored lightning flashes across things that were once sky, but now boil beneath your feet and scream when you brush against them. You run at the head of a large band of men, passing through dark canyons where the walls quiver moistly and beat like a heart. Wearing only your own blood as clothing, at last you stand in a place where the ashen gray terrain slithers like a mass of snakes coiling around your ankles and whispering your evil to the earth. You march endlessly, silently, through this colorless land where fatigue seems to live and hunt you like a shade over the wastes, whipping you with despair. In time, you and the ragged men who follow you come upon a hag sitting upon a mound of gigantic writhing larvae, poking at one of the slime-covered things with a broken talon. You indicate for one of the men to run forward and speak with her. The hag's grating voice carries to your ears. I would speak with him, she said, then cackled. Her eyes gleam as she points you out to the man. Handsome one that leads your ragged column, I would speak with him. And that is all you recall. Feeling all right over there? I'm fine. Do they recruit often? You can be sure of that. Sigil's the best source of fodder on the plains. Beats milking planets all their prime inhabitants. Too much work. Any more advice? Whatever you does, don't talk about the blood war with any fiend, or any Deva or Archon for that matter. Just don't talk about it, period. Because you never know who in the hell you're really chatting with. And all of them get mighty touchy when you bring up the war. It's their reason for living. Anything else? Don't go through any portals unless you're piking sure you know where it goes. Maybe you haven't heard tales of clueless planewalkers stepping through a portal and ending up smack dab in the middle of the Blood War skirmish. Know why you haven't heard of them? Because those sods are all dead. Whatever you does, never sign on for a tour of duty, no matter how much jink they flash on your mug. Certain death and signing on for a tour in the Blood War are the same thing, Cutter. Why's that? Chances are when you sign up, they peel you so your tour of duty is till time itself grinds to an halt. Even death wouldn't be a release, because then you sink into the lower planes and get dredged back up as something worse than you were before. Then they got your talons on you for all eternity. So dying in the Blood War would be an especially bad thing. If you were evil, sure. If you're good, you'd go to another plane to spend your afterlife, but then you'd be a debtor. Now for me, I still got a lot of evil to wash from my soul, so if I died in the lower planes, they would have had me lock, stock, and barrel. You go to another plane when you die. Could you explain that? Go talk to the other death lecturer if you want to talk on that. I can't explain it as well as he, though he's twice the fool and might scald you with a hot air roaring from his mouth. How would you get out of a tour contract? Unless they don't want you, you don't have much of a chance. I never heard of it being done with mean-spirited recruits or somebody that really wanted to keep their talons on you. Outwitting a Tenati is risky but can be done. The Beta Zoo are much more dangerous with their contracts. You sign one of those, you're damned for life. You might try to little garnish, try and daub them there. Might make you run for it, but where would you go? There are so many L's. So, you'll tell us no tales of the Blood War. Alright, you get one. Let me give you an example of what meat means to them. They'll get some mean-spirited mortal mercenaries together, maybe drop a few million strong and let them slaughter each other for no real reason at all. A pointless battle over some powers-forsaken piece of land. And guess where all those souls go? Where? Their souls sink into the plains of evil they fought on, where they can be ripped from the soup of the plain and set to fight as lemurs or manes or whatever the pikin sods as little fiendish dung heaps become. The more of these sodden petitioners they get, the more troops they have. Got it. How do you describe the Tenari? The Tenari pay better than the Beta Zoo, but you need to be 2 or 3-faced and have a bunch of eyes sprinkled all over your body because you can't ever turn your back on them. They're chaos. The ones with whim and whimsy in their hearts, trust or upholding their word, aren't high on the list. They don't care what happens so long as something happens. 'Tis evil. Most they attack the Beta Zoo to keep from them killing each other. Describe the Beta Zoo. They don't usually pay as much as the Tenari, but they don't break their written word. They're smart. Several hundredfold smarter than they've been making contracts since time began. They know how to peel someone with words, they do. Sign and most likely you'll be peeled and hung to dry in their legions. They plan like bastards. They put more thought and preparation to a single strategic skirmish than most human armies devote to an entire campaign. They usually assemble their forces on Avernus, the first layer of Baator. What's Avernus like? Avernus? 'Tis inhabited by the damned and those that prey on the damned. The red-flecked lands of noxious sands, blistering fires that scream across the landscape. That was my taste of Baator, the lair of Avernus. Terrible place. What sort of forces serve in the Blood War? All sorts. Aside from various mortal burks from across the plains, Abishai and Cornugans, lemurs and Nuparibo, succubi, the list goes on. Abishai. They're the grunts in the most Beta Zoo armies. They're different sorts, black-scaled ones being the weakest and most common. Cornugans are dead hard, Cutter. It's rare to see more than a few of them together, though sometimes they form bands of elite troops. Usually they lead lesser forces like Abishai and mortal mercenaries. Lemurs. Lemurs are these things that look like melted people, annoying little sods that regenerate, even as you're killing them. They're oblivious to danger or pain, and so they'll never run away from a fight. Mostly good for dying on the front lines and not much else. Oh damn. Duparibo. Fat little pikers that have these tiny little heads, deaf, dumb, and blind. They exist to die in the front line. Hard to kill, too. Even the most wee bit of them will grow back to whole if you let it. Succubi. Tenari, lovely but dead evil they are. They seduce mortals to try and drag them into the abyss. No offense, milady. None taken. You're quite accurate. I think I'm satisfied with my questions. Warriors in training. 3 planes aligned. So that's the thief training room, and then this is the mage training room. So we can learn. We could change our class there. Just in case you don't have any party members with the appropriate skills. Merry man. Just who I was looking for. This man looks like a bitter, cantankerous old codger. His mouth is twisted into a frown that becomes even more severe as he notices you coming this way. Merry man, my name may be, but merry I am not. Off with you, young one. No time for the likes of ya. He goes into a fit of coughing from the exertion of shooing you away so loudly. Wait. Delora wanted me to speak with you. That's so? About what? Huh? Well? She says that you're her first love, and that so long as you hold the keys to her heart, you'll never be free to love another. She told you that, huh? I'm surprised. Perhaps leaving her under Mistress Grace's tutelage did what I couldn't. Started to develop her feelings. In any case, I won't just give the keys to you. Wait, those are literally the keys to her heart? That they are. Delora is a construct. Didn't you know that? A creature of sorcery and clockwork mechanism she is. One of my finest creations. But cold, without emotion or character. I brought her to the brothel and set her there so that she could not leave, in the hopes that the constant contact with so many others would begin to develop her own personality. The keys are the tools used to set her. She wants them because she feels that they're limiting her personal growth now, I suspect. Then why don't you just return them to her? Because I've become a cruel and bitter old man who sees he can get something from you. Then what do you want? I want to forget. I've lived almost 150 years now, and I've seen every sensory stone I've cared to in this great hall. I've little time left, and I'm too weak to go out in search of a wholly new experience. So I need to find a way to forget them all. That way I can start again in my final days. Just want me to smack you in the back of the head or something?
Updated my journal.
No, you bloodthirsty lummox! I'll need something, some concoction that'll allow me to forget, like a draught from the river Styx or something like that. Alright, I'll come back if I find something. I wonder if we'll be able to find such a thing. Death's Advocate. Where does this all go? The Civic Fest Hall.
Alright.
The Fest Hall Room Clerk. Greetings, sir. Here's your room key. The easternmost chamber's been waiting quite some time for your return. Would you like to rest now? Pardon me. What do you mean, waiting for my return? My ledger indicates that this is your key, sir, and has been for a very long time. If that's not so, then perhaps I'm merely mistaken. Would you like to rest now? Yes, that'd be nice. You've rested for 8 hours. Huh. I don't trust this place.
Might as well.
I'm gone.
A version of me did try to kill me recently, so I don't know. Call me paranoid.
Might as well.
I'm gone.
Ooh. A series of useful scrolls. Blindness, chromatic orb, friends. Useful things. Is there anything that I would want? What's shield do? Global force that protects the caster from physical attacks. Bestows AC 3. Plus one saving throws for 25 seconds per caster level. I don't know. Yeah, my AC. Don't really need that, but I appreciate it. Pacify. Violence is not always the best solution. Magically pacifies 2 to 8 creatures of 6 hit dice or less. Not super useful. Blindness. How frail is the body when it depends upon its eyes? -4 penalty on attack rolls and a +4 bonus to all opponents' attack rolls. Saving throw negates usable only by mages. I'll take that. I mean, I'll take all of them, but which ones do I want to learn? Friends. One's charm, one's beauty, and one's charisma is oftentimes the key to gaining the trust of strangers and creating new friends. When cast, the caster temporarily gains 2d8 points of charisma, which could be helpful in making new friends or opening new paths. Considering my charisma is 17, I'm good, but I appreciate it. I'll take the blindness spell, though. I don't know when, but I feel like that's going to be useful at some point. What do we have here? Needle, thread, and embalming fluid. Everything a growing dead man needs. And a bunch of charms. What the hell are these things? Who's got my healing supplies? Dakan. Sick. All from Grace's diary. Very funny. Chastity bodice. Also very funny. Mort, here are my scrolls. And that, I can't. No one else can use it. Where are the fly charms? Okay, Dakan has them.
All right.
I'm not going to take the high quality stiletto. This door is locked.
Combat skills are most impressive, Dakan.
They are but specks upon Zerthamon's path.
If you keep bobbing about, Skull, I'm gonna mount you in the end of a pike.
Cockroach charm. Oh yeah, the thing that makes you really difficult to kill. I had a series of charcoal charms, but I don't remember where I left them. I might have sold them. The thrice blind charm invokes blindness. Whomstead could have suspected this. Okay, can I unlock this? I can't.
All right.
Interesting.
Aye, right.
All right.
I'm gone.
I feel satisfied. The scroll of fire and ice and a dodecahedron. A red sphere of fire and a blue sphere of ice streak forth and quickly strike down the target of your choosing. Spell summons 2 crystal spheres that do a bunch of damage. I can dig that. What level spell is it? Woo! I got my first level 5 spell! Brum, 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 brum. So what's the rock thingy do? This heavy dodecahedron, about the size of both your fists balled together, seems inexplicably familiar to you. Its texture is cold and smooth, but whether it's metal or stone, you cannot tell. A certain, almost intangible tension runs over the object, as if it were ready to spring into the air at any moment. This heavy... Oh, there we go. Examine the dodecahedron closer. Upon closer inspection, you realize that each side of the dodecahedron is a plate that can be twisted clockwise or counterclockwise. It appears to be a puzzle box, or combination log. As each of the pentagonal plates has 5 possible positions, the dodecahedron has no less than 244,140,625 settings. It would take every second of the next 77 odd years to hit all the combinations, but then you might just get lucky and stumble onto the solution in a few minutes. Fiddle away for a bit. As you methodically twist the cold gray facets of the dodecahedron, a strange sensation forms at the base of your skull. Your hand seems to move of its own accord, turning the object and spinning its facets with mechanical precision. You've done this before. You knew the combination once, and you also become aware that there's a certain danger within the object. Whether it's some simple traps or something less mundane, though, you are not quite certain. Keep working. In moments, you have what might be the first 4 sides locked into their proper places. As you begin to twist the 5th side of the dodecahedron, you recall a cunning blade trap that would snap out to lash out a meddler's hands, slashing their wrists and severing fingers. You avoid the trap with the proper number of rotations, certain that you've made progress in unraveling the object's secrets. After avoiding the springing blades, you slowly puzzle out the next series of facet positions. As you start to turn the 9th side of the dodecahedron, you suddenly remember the 2nd, jets of toxic gas that would form a billowing cloud of lethal corrosive vapor. You circumvent the trap with the correct amount of twists, positive that you've nearly unlocked it. You circumvent the dodecahedron's poisonous gas and begin working on the final facet positions. Just as you're locking the 12th pentagon into place, you recollect sorcerous runes hidden within the dodecahedron that would blast the unwitting holder with bolts of magical lightning. After disarming the trap with the correct number of facet rotations, the dodecahedron clicks and begins to open in your hands. The dodecahedron splits once, twice, and eventually unfolds itself impossibly into a perfectly rectangular tablet the size of a large book. Etched into its surface are a series of bizarre symbols. It looks to be a code, or language, that you feel should be familiar to you, but it's not. Further examination of the tablet reveals that by twisting the pentagonal facets that are now upon the underside of the tablet, different pages may be displayed across the tablet's face. You finally realize that the dodecahedron is a tome, or a journal of some sort. Until I learn how to read this language. I should probably just put this away.
Updated my journal.
We got the journal.